What's going on, bulls? We have some interesting news to get into today. Mexican banking billionaire is big on Bitcoin. Micro futures for Bitcoin are really on a trend, getting further into institutions, expanding Bitcoin's reach. El Salvador is finally launching their Chivo app for their people, and they're going to give them Bitcoin. And Britain is cracking down on Binance, trying to get it within their regulatory standards. But first, before we dive in, let's look at this. We're on CoinMarketCap. Let's look at the top 10 coins. By the way, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Really supports the channel. Thank you in advance. Number one, of course, Bitcoin. But up 4.3% over the last 24 hours. That's nice. Ethereum up about 2.25% over the last 24 hours. That's nice. Tether, it's $1. Go figure. Binance coin up slightly, about 0.2%. Got Cardano here that's up 3%. Dogecoin almost 2%. XRP up about 0.67. USD coin, it's still at $1. Polkadot up almost 1%. And then Binance USD, of course, it's at $1. So we have 3 stable coins still in the top 10. I still believe USDC is going to be the winner of the stable coins. That's the one from Coinbase. Tether, I think it just has too many. I think there's too many questions, and I think they're valid. Of this market cap we're looking at of 62 billion. I don't believe Tether actually has 62 billion worth of backing for this, whereas I do think USDC coin does have 25 billion, or at least a hell of a lot closer to it, and even Binance with 10 billion. A hell of a lot more backing to actually support that dollar. You know what I'm saying? But so the markets have been slightly going up. That's nice. Let's dive straight into this first. So Britain, they're kind of in the world, number one spot in the world where people buy Bitcoin. And it's, so they received a notice just a few days ago that UK, they must not, without the prior written consent of the FCA, carry out any regulated activities with immediate effect. Okay, this expanded from Binance Market to the wider Binance Group, but FCA's move would not impact services offered on its Binance.com website. So that's kind of interesting that it's not gone into that yet. Binance doesn't really have a home base. It's operated by people all over the world, the team. And so a lot of countries are really wanting them to label themselves somewhere and get more of a hold on them. But Binance is really trying to be, I don't want to use the word decentralized, but kind of decentralized, at least in terms of its location and stuff like that. Like it really is doing things different, but it is the biggest exchange in the world. So here's something. Binance Markets Limited is not permitted to undertake any regulated activity in the UK. So that's what will be going on for now. And they claim the biggest thing is they want to make sure that they comply with anti-money laundering rules. We'll see. I mean, I'm sure that's true, but I also just think that, the UK, London being one of the main financial hubs of the world, I think that they're just really trying to look at cryptocurrency like, hey, we need to see how we can have control of this. That's what I really think. The anti-money laundering rules, sure, whatever. That's kind of the thing they all say, whatever. I mean, it happens, of course, but money laundering happens in fiat also. Way large degree because there's way more fiat. So, anyways, money launderer is going to launder. Don't ignore the goodness, UK. Let's go on to El Salvador. So, El Salvador, they're going to hand out up to $117 million in Bitcoin to its citizens, because anyone that downloads the Chivo app, which is their wallet, El Salvador's wallet, they're going to give everyone that downloads that $30 in Bitcoin. And to people in El Salvador, $30, that's a lot of money. That's a really good chunk of money because they don't make much money, and they're constantly dealing with massive inflation and debasement of their own money, but they usually pretty much use the US dollar. We'll get into that. They mentioned something on that in a second. So they're really trying to minimize the usage of the American dollar because they don't like how much we print it. We'll dive more into that again in a second. Like I said, on September 7th, Bitcoin will become the legal currency in the country. Not just legal tender the actual currency of the country, as far as I understand, overtaking their own current currency. I can't remember what it's called, but they mostly use the U.S. dollar, so it's going to be overtaking that too for the most part. The president also added bank accounts in dollars will remain in dollars, as well as salaries and pensions. Why? Because Bitcoin has a $600 billion market cap globally, and if we do this, investors and tourists who own Bitcoin will come to the country and benefit Salvadorans and the economy. I think it's a pretty fair bet. I don't think they know that being on the dollar is a sinking ship, and it's not going to get fixed. Where here they have signs of life and a future, and I'm so happy that they see that. How is it all going to exactly play out? We'll see. There's going to be road bumps for sure, but I think overall it's going to be a very, very good move. Salvadorans use the American dollar as their legal currency currently until September 7th, and they don't feel positive sides of printing money in the U.S. We print a lot of money. We have been printing a lot of money for the last year plus, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. If anything, it's speeding up, which is the debasement, the devaluing of the actual currency, and of course gives rise to inflation, which means that things cost more. So your money's worth less and things cost more. Isn't that great? However, they do feel the negative influence of such printing leads to inflation, like I just said, and it's pretty factual. You know, the more money you print, the less valuable it becomes, and the more things end up costing. Be able to pay business. He explained that consumers will be able to pay businesses with Bitcoin from their wallets for items listed in dollars. However, if business owners want to receive dollars, there is a button in the Chivo app that turns Bitcoin to dollars. So Salvador is really making a big step here. One thing also that's important to note is that the minimum wage in the country is around $430. I don't know if that's per month or if that's per year. I think it's per month, but I really don't know. Either way, that's pretty low, but starts as low as $103. So, and one last thing to say is that they said this. One thing is sure, whether successful or not, El Salvador's example will give us a good view of how it is when Bitcoin is used in everyday life. So us being bulls, we really want to see this go well. Again, it's going to have road bumps. We can't sit here and think it's just going to be this nice smooth path, but I think overall it's going to play out very well for them and overall Bitcoin and the crypto market. And Bitcoin is, of course, the number one thing I hold and the number one thing I buy and the number one thing that's going to be in the financial market and the actual most valuable thing. I think there's plenty of room for other businesses, which are blockchains, to provide value and with the technology of blockchain and change the world, like the internet changed the world. But I think Bitcoin is the financial instrument, and I'm not alone. So up here next, CME Group micro Bitcoin futures reach 1 million contracts traded, and this is a big deal because they really only started doing it in May, I believe. So now it's more than 1 million micro Bitcoin futures contracts have changed hands. It's a big milestone for a very young instrument. I mean, that's an even bigger achievement considering cryptocurrency is still a niche market, is what they say. And these micro-sized contracts are designed to provide market participants, from institutions to smaller, sophisticated active investors. Emphasis on the smaller, sophisticated active investors, because it starts there and moves up to the institutions, but it also gives the institutions a hedge, a tool that they can minimize their Bitcoin risk and still execute trading. So micro Bitcoin futures launched just back in May, and it's open regulated crypto derivatives market to micro investors. And derivative markets are a really big deal with getting big money to come in. And they're starting with kind of micro investors, but they're also allowing it for bigger institutions so that they can kind of dip their toe with less risk into the market. Again, smaller size contracts will enable more of our sophisticated individual clients to participate in the market and will allow our institutional clients to more precisely manage their Bitcoin exposure. That's a big deal because as Bitcoin and crypto and blockchain, I think I'm going to stop saying cryptocurrency, and I think I'm just going to start saying crypto assets, because it's not like all crypto tokens are really going to be currencies necessarily, but they are going to be assets. Although 95+% of cryptos that we see now are going to be gone and not really have value, but some are really going to stick around, I think more than we think. Just like the dot-com boom in the early 2000s in the internet. I think that's got a really good match. But this is just a really big deal as we expand into the institutions and the bigger pockets of money more and more. Countries, hedge funds, institutions, everything like that. And then last on the list is this. I felt this is really, really bullish. Mexican billionaire to make his bank Mexico's first to accept Bitcoin, and he did it in an overnight tweet storm. What a world we live in. Tweet storm, a word that did not exist when I was a kid, wouldn't have made any sense. And he even says fiat is fraud. Let's dive into that. So billionaire businessman Ricardo Salinas Pliego? Sorry if I didn't say his name right. You get the point. He's working to make his Banco Azteca, so Aztec Bank, the nation's first bank to accept Bitcoin. Very, very bullish. He said, my bank and I are working to be the first bank in Mexico to accept Bitcoin, he tweeted out on Sunday, so like today, basically. In response to Michael Saylor, the CEO of MicroStrategy, who's bought over 100,000 Bitcoins with his company MicroStrategy so far. And the Mexican tycoon called government-backed paper money, or fiat, a fraud, and instead suggested every investor should own Bitcoin. This is a guy who owns one of the biggest banks in Mexico, saying fiat is a fraud and every investor should own Bitcoin. That's huge. He's calling Bitcoin the new gold. Again, this is one of the richest people, well, in the world. He's the third richest person in Mexico. His net worth is about $15 billion, 15.8 Forbes thinks. And he's calling Bitcoin the new gold. He owns one of the biggest banks in Mexico. This is a banking guy saying this. That's a big deal. Here's this tweet that kind of went on here. Michael Saylor tagging Richard Salinas saying, choose high-quality asset you can find if you're hoping to preserve your wealth. As he said, Ricardo suggests invest in Bitcoin. Obviously, Michael Saylor says that too. Here's Ricardo right there. Dare I play the video? Anyways, he says he invested a lot of time in studying Bitcoin. Maybe we'll play it real quick if it pulls up easy for us. Sometimes this stuff is not so easy. I hate that they have to take us all the way here to play it, but let's see if we get it to work anyways. And I have no audio.
Que debe de estar en el portafolio de cualquier inversionista. Es un activo que tiene valor internacional.
Traded with an enormous liquidity at a global level.
Con enorme liquidez a nivel mundial. Y que por eso debería estar
and that is enough reason for it to be part. The finite supply of 20 million is the key part. That's why I said about Ethereum, while they don't have a finite supply, I don't believe anything they do. For all I know, they emit more and your asset depreciates. You know, fiat is a fraud. Look, I started my career in 1981. Mexican peso was 20 to 1. Today we are at 20,000 to 1. Don't tell me. And that is in Mexico. But if we look at Venezuela, Chile, or Zimbabwe, those numbers lose all proportions because they're even crazier there, by the way. The fraud fiat is inherent to the fiat system, and we can see it today in the USA. This guy owns banks, big banks. The monetary mission went to the moon. You understand, the dollar as hard money is a joke. Totally agree. If you could choose an asset, good money, or take 30 years into the future, what would you take? What's the number one thing you would invest in, basically? Not even a single peso, nothing, no paper bills. He would take Bitcoin. The number one thing he would invest in the world, of all things, he would invest in Bitcoin. Big, big bullish stuff. This guy is a banking behemoth in Mexico worth $15.8 billion. He says 10%, 10% of his liquid portfolio is invested in Bitcoin. That is a ginormous number. We have a lot of people and institutions going, well, you should have maybe 1% in Bitcoin. This guy's got at least 10%. Incredible. Since November, by the way. So I thought that was super bullish. That really, really excites me. I mean, the expansion of Bitcoin and crypto into the world is as apparent as it's ever been. Thanks for watching this with me today. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, check out the links in the description. There's some valuable stuff there, including how you can earn interest on your crypto and get some free Bitcoin. So check it out. Thanks for watching, Bulls. You're awesome.